Cardinal Parolin, we need more voices calling for peace. In a recent interview with the Italian quarterly Dialoghi, Vatican Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, discusses the fragility of diplomacy, the rise of the logic of the strongest, the importance of the United Nations, and the need to empty nuclear arsenals. It is a utopia to think that peace is guaranteed by weapons and by balances imposed by the strongest, rather than by international agreements. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, Secretary of State, reflects on the crises and wars inflaming the world in an interview with Dialoghi, the cultural quarterly of Italian Catholic Action. His words also contain a strong condemnation of rearmament. We firmly believe that arsenals must be emptied, starting with nuclear ones. He also recalls the failure to renew agreements for the progressive reduction of atomic weapons, which, the Cardinal emphasizes, has given even freer rein to the construction of deadly instruments capable of annihilating life on Earth. There is a need for more voices for peace, more voices against the madness of the arms race, more voices, he urges, raised in favor of our poorest brothers and sisters, more voices and more proposals. I am thinking, for example, of the world of Catholic universities, for new economic models inspired by justice and care for the weakest, rather than by the idolatry of money. The wound of the Russia-Ukraine war. There is a need for a surge of humanity and responsibility on the part of everyone. Instead, the Cardinal continues, it is painful to note that in many cases the only response is rearmament. Recalling the hope of Saint Pope John Paul II, who dreamed of a united Europe, Cardinal Parolin emphasizes that history has gone in another direction, and instead of a freer and more united world, we have seen a more unstable one emerge, without effective remedies being put in place for the terrible injustices that cause millions of people to suffer from hunger, thirst, lack of even minimal healthcare, and undignified working conditions. His thoughts turn to Ukraine, a war at the heart of Christian Europe, a wound that calls out to us. I have the impression, the Cardinal notes, that the devastation this war has caused in Ukraine is not sufficiently perceived, the enormous human toll, the destruction of cities and infrastructure. The primacy of power. From Ukraine to Gaza, many governments, Cardinal Parolin notes, have expressed outrage over attacks on Ukrainian civilians by Russian missiles and drones, imposing sanctions on the aggressors. It does not seem that the same has happened with the tragedy of the destruction of Gaza. He points to the use of double standards, linked to a primacy of power, the dominance of one's own country over others, justified by international law and invoked only when convenient, but ignored in many other cases.